All right, it is about 4 p.m. We're here in Houston, Texas. We just did Houston in a day using only public transit. If you're watching this right now, you're gonna see us ride lots of trains, a lot of buses. Honestly, impressions after the day, Houston surprised me big time.
Yep. And yeah, you'll be surprised by the frequency of rides. I don't want to spoil anything, so make sure that you stick through the episode. But with all that being said, join us on our journey in Houston.
So we are headed right now to Main Street Square Station. This is a really nice looking plaza though.
It's a really nice plaza, and this is probably one that you've seen videos or pictures of from Houston, but we can kind of pan the camera out. But it's this cool water feature to the plaza, and the train goes right through the water feature.
And it's definitely not giving Houston vibes of what you would expect from afar.
Not at all. It almost feels, well, I think it's the weather. It feels very Seattle right now.
Yeah, the weather feels very Seattle, and the transit feels very not Houston.
Yeah. The frequency actually seems pretty good. I mean, in the last 10 minutes, we've seen 3 trains go by.
Yeah.
So, not bad.
One thing, I'm not seeing a spot that gives us like arrival times anywhere, which if it were gonna happen anywhere, it feels like the downtown stations would be the ones.
Yeah, I don't see it anywhere.
From Main Street Square, we boarded a Red Line train headed to NRG Stadium. With a viewer suggestion, we've also added periodic timestamps throughout our day to the video version of this episode. If you haven't liked this video or left a comment already, please consider doing so. And if you want to support the future of content like this on Transit Tangents, consider supporting us directly on Patreon.
We have a long enough train ride. I'm able to do some work. So we have made it from the downtown Main Street Square station to the Stadium Park / Astrodome, which is pretty far down the Red Line.
Yes, only one more stop past where we are right now.
Yeah. But as far as catching the train and the frequency goes, it was actually pretty quick. The trains were about every 8 to 10 minutes, so a big plus there. Getting a fare was kind of easy. There are 2 apps that you have to use in Houston. One is more of a trip planning app, and the other is more for purchasing your ticket. That is the Metro Q app. So if you need to buy a ticket, you can download Metro Q. Very simple process. You select the transit agency that you want to buy the ticket for, and then it was $3 for a day pass.
Right. We've noticed at every station basically we've seen, they also have a spot where you can buy your tickets right on the platform. Nobody's checking your tickets when you're getting on the trains. I'm sure that sometimes they do. And then another thing we noticed is there's been level boarding, I think, at every station we've seen so far, which is definitely a plus. But this is a stadium here for the Houston Texans. It's kind of just out of sight. This stadium right here is where the Astros used to play. That's the Astrodome. But NRG Stadium, which is where the Houston Texans play, is right over here. And you can pretty easily take transit to the game. So it's once you cross the sea of parking lots, there is a lot of parking lots in between.
A lot of parking.
Yes.
From NRG Stadium, we boarded another Red Line train, making our way back towards downtown to stop at Hermann Park and Rice University.
All right, so we have made it to the Hermann Park / Rice University stop on the Red Line here. Again, we just came up from NRG Stadium, kind of making our way back towards downtown. We passed through like a pretty dense medical park on the way. Chris looked it up as we were kind of going through.
Yeah, I think anybody who's familiar with Houston should know about the Texas Medical Center. It's a massive area. There's over 60 health institutions packed into this area, over 100,000 employees working in this district, and they have about 10 million patient visits annually to this center. It is the largest medical district in the world. Pretty impressive.
And it's served by the Red Line.
I'm
sure it's like a really useful... It's a very useful way for folks to be able to get to work who work in the medical complex.
Yep. And it's also surrounded by Rice University and the Hermann Park area, which we're checking out now.
Yeah, so let's head over to Hermann Park. And look at that, we haven't even left the station.
And another train.
And another Red Line train is actively pulling in, which is that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's good.
That's actually really good.
Yeah. Let's hope Project Connect is as good.
Yes. Terrible luck with the fun trains. We could have had this amazing transfer from the Red Line, which again, another one just drove by. I mean, we're talking like a couple minutes here and we've had several, but we could have transferred onto
The Hermann Park Railroad.
The Hermann Park Railroad, but
I have a feeling it's closed due to the weather.
yeah.
It's pretty dreary today.
Boo.
However, check this out.
Thumbs down.
Even the miniature railroad has not bad timing. Up to a 30-minute wait for a small railroad. I mean, that's better than most cities nowadays.
That's equivalent to the Red Line in Austin.
It is equivalent to the Red Line in Austin.
So if you need to commute to your job as a gremlin in the park somewhere.
So we are exploring Hermann Park right now, which we got to on the Red Line. So far, we have seen several of the sites here. Hermann Park is home to a Japanese garden. It's home to the zoo, a small amusement train, as well as a theater, a beautiful park space with this reflecting pool. It's a very nice area of Houston.
And all the grounds are like very well kept. There's lots of like walking and running trails. Like this seems like a good spot if you wanted to go for a run, if you wanted to take your kids to go for a bike ride, all of that stuff you could do here. The Japanese garden was really well kept and nice. And from here now, we're gonna make our way and kind of cross back over to the other side of the street we were on in the Red Line to Rice University. We'll go walk around Rice for a bit, and then from there we'll hop on another bus and bring you along with us.
Bus, another bus,
Another
train,
bus, lots of buses
bus.
from here. What you looking at? He's not afraid. Oh my God.
He thinks you're gonna feed him.
No, I'm not gonna feed you. Oh God, now I'm afraid. We made it to Rice. Very, very nice little campus here.
Yeah, this quad is beautiful.
Yeah. It's kind of, I mean, we'll definitely try to find a nice drone shot of it, but kind of like encapsulated in by all the buildings around. But Rice has been here since
1912.
1912. I had Chris tell me the date 3 times before.
112 years old.
And there's about 8,000 students here, private research university. Again, easy access to downtown Houston on the Red Line, has its own stop. And again, I can't reiterate this enough how impressed I am with the frequencies of it. Every time we walk by, there's like a train going by in both
Usually
directions.
2 trains, two trains at the station every time we come by.
So yeah, I mean, the frequencies of like, it's seemingly every 8 minutes, maybe even better, kind of going right through the morning here. We're not in like the rush hour commute or anything anymore. It's currently 10...
Oops, it is 11:04.
It is currently 11:04, so even at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, still lots of trains going through.
Yeah.
From here, we are going to head to the Montrose neighborhood. To do so, we're going to catch our first bus of the day. So we will head on over to the bus stop and start to figure that out, because we actually haven't looked specifically into it yet.
We'll see if the bus is as frequent.
Yes, something tells me that it probably won't be, but you never know. We can be pleasantly surprised here. So far, getting around Houston has been pretty easy.
Yeah.
We just walked over from Rice over here to get on the 56 bus, which is what we're going to take to get us to Montrose.
Yes.
Chris just looked it up, the frequency on the transit app for
About
this.
every 20 minutes. We'll expect one here in 12 minutes.
Oh,
Okay.
press the transit button. Whoa,
This is
transit app.
actually something that's pretty cool. So this giant billboard thing, I noticed that it said touch screen, so I touched it, and we were able to click on transit, and you can actually start to see some of the transit lines in this area. It tells you that you can download the transit app. You can ask it where you want to go.
Wow.
That's actually
Let's try
really cool. So we're trying to go to Montrose area. And there we go.
Wait, press transit and see what if it says to do.
So for transit, that's exactly what we're
56,
doing, is we're taking the 56. We're not doing a transfer because we don't need to transfer here, but we are taking a 56 to Montrose. So that's pretty cool.
I've seen these in, when I was in New York, I saw these in New York City.
Yeah, I didn't know that we had them in Houston, which is pretty awesome.
What's photo booth? Ah! That's hilarious.
Wait, how do you take it? You have to press the big button? Oh shit.
Oh, 2, 1. Considering that this is not like a major stop, nice that there's an actual shelter with a bench and a trash can. Not perfect, but better than nothing.
Hey, how's it going? So cool. Thanks.
I love getting the bus shots from another bus.
After a pretty efficient bus trip up to Montrose, we got off in a decent neighborhood to grab lunch. At the stop, we noticed a unique small digital sign at the top of the bus stop giving real-time arrival info. It seems like an affordable way to offer that at bus stops, and I'd love to see more of this in general. After lunch, we played Frogger across a difficult-to-cross street and walked around the neighborhood to check out what housing was like in the area.
So we finished up a nice lunch at the Citizens of Montrose Cafe. If you are in Houston, highly recommend it.
Very good.
Pancakes were delicious. Also, we walked from there to Montrose, which is a pretty famous neighborhood in Houston. It's one of the more dense and walkable places in the city, so it really stands out. It's nice and shaded. You have these beautiful giant oak trees all around. It's just a really, really nice neighborhood.
Yeah, and lots of different like housing types here. You've got row homes, or kind of row home looking things, apartments, some single family homes, all sorts of stuff very close together.
This is the thing I don't understand about the people who are fighting housing in Austin is like, this is acceptable. Like there's nothing wrong with this being in a neighborhood.
It's nice.
Like this was absolutely perfectly acceptable for a neighborhood.
Totally. And I mean, it's just like, think about like this for example, in Hyde Park in Austin, this would be one, maybe two houses that can house like, two groups of people.
Exactly.
Instead, you have like 10 places that people could live in here.
You're putting a lot more density in a place that is still aesthetically pleasing, and it's close to transit and close to a lot of other services around the city.
Absolutely. All the different housing types and everything that we're kind of showing here in Houston will be an interesting one to keep an eye out for in the future. We're going to be doing an episode on kind of the importance between transit and housing together. We've got someone lined up for an interview from the Welcoming Neighbors Network. So stay tuned for that for a future video.
Ooh, look at this one.
Single family, but oh my God, that's... This is a speed hump, but for pedestrians.
It's a sidewalk roller coaster.
Yes. From Montrose, though, we are going to be heading further west. We wanted to kind of go out and see what is known as the Silver Line here in Houston. The Silver Line is kind of a real BRT line, dedicated right-of-way, center running, nice looking stations and everything from what we can tell. Unfortunately, there have been a lot of cuts planned for that route. Boo. Most of it at the hands of the mayor, it seems like. But we're gonna head in that direction and go ride it. It does still exist, but the frequencies are cut back to every 20 minutes. Some of the buses are different, I guess. So we're gonna head over to the Galleria Mall from here. And that's where we will, number one, see what is a giant mall.
It's a giant mall,
And also go and check out the Silver Line. So we're headed to the 82 bus.
The 82 bus, on the way there. Oh, there's a bus.
Do we know where the next, is that it?
We can go to the Cat Expo.
Cat Expo?
There's a sign for Cat
The
Expo.
light changed. Ah!
It wouldn't be a city in a day using only public transit episode if we didn't have to run at least once.
Yes, he got caught. You got yours?
Yeah, I didn't get the camera out.
There you go. Made it. We, almost missed that one. But the good news was, on this 82 bus, we didn't look at the frequency beforehand, and it seems like a bus was gonna come like every 8 minutes or something.
It was really quick.
Yeah.
We saw one bus go by and we were kind of meandering down the street thinking we had plenty of time, and then we literally had to run to the next stop because the bus was coming up behind us.
Yeah, so I mean, overall, that's several routes we've seen right now with better than 10-minute frequencies, and they've actually been kind of coming at that pace, which is not what I was expecting for being here. Kind of significantly better frequencies than most routes in Austin, including the rapid routes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we've been really lucky on frequency of transit today, being able to get around town fairly quickly. So we made it from the Montrose neighborhood, and we're now in the Galleria area, or Uptown, which is a pretty nice area of town. There's a lot of like really nice shopping here. As you can see behind us, the infrastructure itself is a little bit nicer. You have more artistic sort of bus stops. You'll see this is where the BRT Silver Line is located. We're going to see what state it's in just a few minutes. But yeah, it's been a pretty easy trip so far.
Yeah. Here's for the city nerd viewers. Here's a fun thing. I don't have the zoom lens on right now, but there's a Cheesecake Factory right there. And Chris is not a true. See, I'm the more city nerd fan here. Chris doesn't even get the joke. You guys can roast Chris in the comments for not understanding the. So it's 1:38. Looks like we've got a bus coming in about 9 minutes, and we'll get to check out this really nice looking BRT line again, despite some controversy with it being cut back a little bit. So we've alluded to this a couple times about this BRT line, but initially this was supposed to launch with, I believe it was 8-minute service, 8 to 12-minute service. This is the nicest BRT infrastructure in the city of Houston. It's frankly the nicest BRT infrastructure I've seen in the United States.
For sure, yeah.
I've seen the BRT in Bogota. Obviously, that's like a whole other level, but in the last, it was in June of this year, the mayor, among others, who he has appointed to the board for Metro, has cut the service on this back to every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
They've also gotten rid of the articulated buses on this line, and some of it makes sense while some of it doesn't, right? So this BRT line does not run to downtown Houston. It kind of runs between two transit centers. However, the plan in the future is for it to connect to longer, bigger, better BRT lines that go from those transit centers into downtown. Unfortunately, along with the kind of service reductions on this, we're also seeing, frankly, the removal of plans for these other future BRT lines.
This is why we call John Whitmer the Texas multimodal transit massacreist.
Yes, if you go back to our
top 10 transit villains episode.
Yes, exactly.
I think the plan for this though, so the Silver Line runs this western side of town in Uptown near the Galleria. It starts at one transit center in the north, it ends at another transit center sort of in the south. And I think if you had rapid transit, and we'll find out, but if you have rapid transit from those two service centers, then getting from here, where there's a lot of apartments, to downtown, maybe not so bad.
Right.
Because we do know that the line we're going to try to take at the North Transit Center is an express direct to downtown.
Right. And I think the future lines would have had dedicated lanes, essentially, express direct from those places, whereas right now we'll just be mixed in with traffic. But overall, I mean, this is really beautiful. I hope that it stays. I've heard that some of this might be actually being pulled out. I don't know. That would be insane.
It's too pretty to pull out.
Yeah, yep.
The bus that you see here is surprisingly short, and we believe that's because the buses that were actually intended to use this entire platform, which would be the long articulated buses, or as us in Cat Metro like to call them, the bendy buses. Those buses have been repurposed for other lines in Houston.
I gotta pull out my...
If you haven't liked this video or left a comment already, please consider doing so. It helps us out quite a bit. And if you want to support the future of content like this on Transit Tangents, consider supporting us directly on Patreon.
So we made it to the Northwest Transit Center on the Silver Line.
Yeah.
Silver Line, I mean, it's a shame that it's kind of not a very well-used route, that it's been scaled back, all of this stuff, but
it still seemed like it had a lot of promise, and there were sections of it that did feel more true BRT, like when we were kind of going over the interstate. We didn't even touch the interstate, really.
No, we had our own dedicated lanes over the highway. Even in the section where it was a little bit more stop and go, we were in dedicated lanes in the middle, but there wasn't a lot of transit priority there. But overall, pretty cool. From here, we're gonna catch a bus to downtown. A little bit of confusion as to where exactly we need to go and what bus is next. The signs are not super fantastic, but this is definitely a busy little transit hub.
Yeah, and it's nice, it's clean.
Yeah, it's getting used. I mean, we're mid-afternoon at this point, so speaking of the time, it is
2:08.
2:08. The bus is gonna be here in 14 minutes-ish, question mark. Transit apps is one thing, Google Maps is another. This sign says nothing.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
So there has been a theme around Houston where we keep seeing actual nice bike infrastructure. There's nice dedicated bike lanes in some parts of town. We just passed over a bridge that had a nice dedicated bike lane that was separated from the main bridge. So it seems like there is a good opportunity for cycling in town. Also, the bayous. We'll highlight on the map for those watching where the bayous run through town and how those can be interconnected bikeways as well. But what we don't see
are, unfortunately, there's no bike share.
Right. We did have bike share in Houston until June.
Yes, and again, kind of recurring theme of certain services and whatnot being cut. The bike share program has been fully axed, doesn't exist anymore, no plans for it to exist in the future. So as people coming to visit from out of town, you really don't have a biking option. Now there are scooters and stuff available, but if I'm being honest, I don't know that I've seen any.
I haven't seen any scooters so far.
At all.
Yeah, minor correction. From everything I can tell, it seems like the scooters like what we see in other cities like Lime, Bird, and all those aren't legal in Houston. And if they are, correct us, but we haven't seen them. And from what I could see on Reddit, people are saying that they've been banned. So
yeah.
That eliminates another microtransit option.
Yeah, essentially none. No microtransit. Very fancy.
I don't have a code.
So with this being more of an express bus with no stops between the transit center and downtown, I think you get a more standard sort of like traveler commuter bus.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's less people getting on and off at each stop, less stops. So
way higher capacity.
Right.
Way higher capacity and a more comfortable ride for a longer distance, I think.
And I would imagine in the morning commute and the evening commute, these buses are probably have a lot more people on them.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
It's a little hard to show, but we're currently on like an express lane. It's like an HOV lane that the buses get to use, kind of above a lot of the traffic. It's not dedicated for buses, but...
These are also a lot of the newer townhomes I was talking about. So we left the transit center. As we showed you, the bus was actually a different style of bus. We think that's because it's more of a commuter. And we pretty much sailed above the traffic. So what normally in a car probably would have taken, could be 30 minutes given traffic or more, we sort of sailed above the traffic and did really well on timing getting down here. So really smooth, comfortable ride.
From here, we're gonna hop on the Green Line, which is one of the Metro rails in Houston here. And we're gonna go by both Minute Maid Park, which is where the Astros play, as well as where the soccer team here in Houston plays. So we're gonna actually go to the soccer stadium. We'll check that out and then make a couple stops on the way.
After a quick transfer, we hopped on a Green Line train.
We've ridden so much transit today.
It's good. We are transit tangents. And this is the goal.
It just like feels extra today. I feel like time-wise, cumulatively, we've spent more than usual.
And we've also made it across town, like significant distances,
Yeah.
way easier than I expected us to.
Totally. Yeah. Wow. Where are we? This doesn't feel like Houston to me.
It's not what I thought of as Houston, the energy oil capital of the world.
I know. It honestly, well, what's hilarious, the energy oil capital of the world, look who sponsors the soccer stadium.
Yeah. We're ignoring that part for these nice trains. This episode are sponsored by Lewis's partner, Jerry. So thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Jerry. As a fan of Jet Lag, the game, the YouTube channel, we entered the snack zone there.
Welcome to the snack zone.
That's a snack zone reference. If you haven't watched that, you guys, if you're watching this, you probably would like Jet Lag. So, all right. So we just, after entering the snack zone, we made it to Shell Energy Stadium, which is where the Houston Dynamo soccer team plays.
Yep. It's also very close to Minute Maid Stadium, which you can see a block away, just across the highway.
And Minute Maid Stadium is where the Houston Astros play baseball.
Yeah. So it's kind of like one of the stadium districts of Houston.
Absolutely.
We did jump on the Green Line after getting off the last bus and rode it basically across downtown to get to this point. Mm-hmm. We didn't spend a lot of time on the Green Line. We just wanted to show you the experience of that train, but we didn't actually take it the full extent of the line like we did the Red Line.
And the Green Line and the Purple Line kind of run together here for a while before splitting off. Mm-hmm. One fun feature that I noticed as we were doing it, I'll show you the footage of it and also like from above, they're running down one-way streets for a while, and then where they converge, one side of it actually like cuts through a building to connect through, which I thought's kind
That's
of a
pretty
fun
cool.
thing.
Yeah. It's a neat feature.
These lines do continue to go out for quite a ways, just purely from like scrolling through Google Maps and stuff. It seems like the potential for transit-oriented development and whatnot further out is there, but right now it's mostly just like single-family zoning. It's actually no zoning because it's Houston, but it's mostly single-family homes and whatnot all throughout the area. These trains are a little bit shorter than the red line that we were on this morning. Those were kind of double the length of these ones. But the platforms here look like they're long enough to have bigger trains for the future. I'm sure when there's games and stuff going on,
they could run bigger trains during games for sure.
You also have which university is out of here? Is it University of Houston?
University of Houston is also down the purple line, I believe.
Yes. Yep. So kind of another thing that is serviced by these lines. But now we're gonna walk actually under the highway here. This highway is actually talked about in City Limits, a book by Megan Kimball that we've talked about a couple times on the channel. This highway is one of several in the state of Texas currently being widened, but we figured we'll walk under it, and there's actually quite a few places that are being torn down for the highway expansion, so we'll kind of walk that direction. This is some of the area that there was housing here. TxDOT essentially came through and tore it down so that eventually this highway can be expanded.
Shots of
and I don't know if this is related, but all of this looks like it's about to be demolished as well, which is pretty crazy.
So downtown Houston actually does have a unique feature, which is a system of tunnels that currently connects 95 city blocks. The tunnel started in the 1930s when it connected 2 theaters and just sort of exploded in growth after that. And it's this whole other layer of city among the city. And so we're gonna go check it out.
And also important to note, some of the tunnels are also like skyways too.
Yes, it is a large collection of tunnels and skyways.
I was like, this is really funny. Chris is pointing to the tunnel, but it's in the air.
It's a tunnel in the sky.
It's an air tunnel.
We navigated our way into the tunnel system through a maze under the city. I'd try to map it, but I was totally lost the entire time. Eventually, we ended up where I'd catch my bus back to Austin.
All right, so after a long walk through the tunnels, we just navigated like an absolute maze of tunnels and sky bridge things.
Several city blocks. It's definitely
more than several. I mean, a lot. Like
definitely confusing at times. So
it's pretty cool though. There's also all sorts of like shops and things and coffee shops and food courts and things throughout the way. Some signage, some lack of signage, a little bit of everything. But yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, overall though, I mean, big day.
Yeah, we're ending the day now at 3:49.
Yep.
Lewis is actually about to jump on a Vaughn lane, which you can't see, it's just out of the shot.
Yep.
To head back to Austin.
Yeah, overall though, my impressions were that it was way easier to get around Houston using only transit.
Yeah, buses came really frequently. They were really easy to navigate the city on.
Yep.
So
I couldn't get over the frequency, frankly. Like
the best frequency we have experienced in doing this show.
Yeah, and that's like Salt Lake City, New Orleans, Austin, San Antonio. Houston's frequencies were definitely the best.
Yep.
Again, you know, that's not to say that there aren't issues. It's not to say that it's not hard to use it on your day-to-day. Maybe we got lucky. I don't know. If you're from Houston or you've ridden transit here, definitely let us know. A lot of potential if the right leadership was in place.
Agreed.
But unfortunately right now it seems like the right leadership is not in place. Also a little bit of a bummer that there's no bike share of any kind, and not to mention that, but also there's
There's no micromobility because there's no bike share and there's no scooters. So if you hit that end-of-line service or you just need that to make that little extra gap, there's no way to actually do that.
Unless you live here and can have your own stuff, but it's like that's not doable.
You're going to be walking a lot.
Yeah.
So,
but overall, yeah, I mean, that's Houston in a day using only public transit. These episodes take a lot of effort and time to do, and if you want to find a way to try to support us, the best way to do so is via our Patreon.
Yep.
We're gaining momentum there and getting more and more folks. We want to see more people in the Discord because it's a little lonely. There's only a couple of us, so if you want to help support that, when you become a Patreon member, you also get access to the members-only Discord.
We have episodes loaded early.
Yep, and we're doing that better than I thought we would. Quite a few episodes early so far, all that sort of stuff. So if you want to support us, please do. Again, also you can just help us out by sharing us with your friends, liking the videos, leaving a comment if you haven't done so already, and sharing on your favorite podcast platforms as well.
Yeah.
So without further ado, though, that's our day here in Houston. Thank you all. All right, camera literally died as we were in the last sentence. But with all of that being said, Thank you all so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your
Transit Tangents Tuesday.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm saving that dough. Public transit's where it's at. Watch me go.